Well, David,
Right. How are things?
what's that cracky?
Not too bad, no, not too bad.
Good job you got done like all jersey in behind you.
I know, yeah. All set up now for the weekend. All set up. I
Up
was
the
only
road.
thinking that the Kerry jersey is a bit further down. The Donegal jersey might not be the best way to be.
Hey, where's your Tyrone jersey?
Ah, fucking. that's no sign of that. There'll definitely be no sign of that anyway.
Uh,
Right. I suppose we've about 5 or 6 people in there. Welcome to the DNSports Live GAA Podcast. This is the first one that we've done and that we're doing. Obviously, we're going to do a few more now after this one. Is Kieran gone there? Is he?
he has. You can carry on. Sure, just invite him and carry on. Nice.
Yeah. First things first. Anyway, all set for the weekend.
I am. Well, don't know yet. I still need to get my tickets. It's a bit of a disaster at the moment, with the tickets, but hopefully I get them. Might get down to see the Kerry and Tyrone one as well.
Oh yeah.
We'll see.
What is actually I haven't read too much into it, but what is the story with the county boards and the tickets and all that crap?
Well, the county board has put in their request for 3,000, I think, and the demand's well over set. The county chairperson says there today, so there's going to be a few disappointed heads, and we don't know with what Croke Park's doing or Ticketmaster or NM shop. So we'll see the crackdown later tonight. I'd say every club will be notified their tickets allocation.
What's the crack, Kieran?
He's away.
Gone again. I'll try him there again. I suppose there's a couple of things anyway we want to go through this evening. The first thing I suppose really was kind of last weekend's action. The first thing that kind of came to mind for this was the minor final. Tyrone and Kerry. Tyrone now are minor and under 20 All Ireland winners. They're going for the treble. I think the last team to do that was Kerry, actually, in I think it was 1975. Could they do it again?
They could. I think they're a dark horse, to be honest. I think Tyrone's a very dark horse in the race. Probably, I'd say, with the game that they played last weekend in terms of the senior against Dublin, I'd say people will overwrite them and say Kerry are the ones they won. But I would say they're a very dark horse. They won't give Kerry the same time that Armagh give them. I think Armagh didn't focus on Sean O'Shea, and then the damage was done early. And I think Tyrone having that homework done, I'd say it's going to be a lot tighter game now this weekend. But
Yeah.
I have to add at Hershey to say that, Dave, doesn't it? That Tyrone.
Yeah, it's slightly all right. Yeah, no, look, the minor final was a great game, and from I suppose I wouldn't be too mad about watching. I suppose the kind of minors and the under 20s and things like that. But when it's on live like that, it's great to be able to see it. Ben Keller there from the Dr. Cokes was very good. Scored a fantastic goal just before halftime. But look, at the end of the day, Tyrone were always kind of the better team on the day. But look, they've done very well over the last few years. Could Tyrone have a bit of a dominance now over the next few years? I know, Kerry won the 5 in a row in minor, but I wouldn't say they did too much with that. Could Tyrone possibly do more with it?
They could, I think the best thing about Tyrone is they've looked after their school football. Their school football's huge, and they, I'd say they'll do a lot of work and a lot of damage at every level. I think coming forward because they put so much work into their centre excellence. They were probably one of the first. I think I was listening to Off the Ball as well that they mentioned that they were probably one of the first to put a centre of excellence in place for the young players coming up through. I think everyone else followed suit then afterwards, and they realised, right, we need to get our school football going to make good clubs and good championships. So I think Tyrone's a dark horse, but I don't think it'll be this year where they win in All Ireland. I think it'll be next year. If I'm being brutally honest.
You with us, Kieran?
Is he with us?
No.
No, I don't think so. I think if he doesn't get it, we can leave him out. If he's in and out.
Or yeah, I suppose before the Kerry Donegal final, we'll we'll set this up a bit properly, and
Hey,
we might we might be able to do something live or something like that.
hey, Dave, you can jinx yourself. We don't want your jinxing now. Jinx yourself. Jinx Kerry all you want. Don't bring Donegal into it. Jinx yourself.
Yeah,
Don't
no,
mention Donegal.
I'm probably a bit too forward with it there now. In fairness, um, the All Ireland women's semi-finals obviously are known to us now as well, with Kerry and Meath and Dublin, Donegal, or Dublin, Galway. Um, Kerry probably hot enough favourites for that now again this year after last year's win. Um, I think they're going to be played on the 19th of July, and then I suppose a bit sooner than that, Donegal are playing Leitrim in a relegation battle. I wouldn't know too much now about the Donegal kind of ladies and things like that. Maybe you might be able to give us a bit more of an insight on how they've done this year.
I suppose for the Donegal ladies, it's been much of a learning year, but they also had a lot of retirements, Dave. And I suppose they're trying to find their feet a bit. There's a lot of young players, like really young players, in terms of one still doing the leaving certain stuff, holding positions at number 11, number 6. And I think Donegal ladies football is in safe hands, but at the moment, I think they're probably a wee bit just inexperienced. But I think comes and swings and roundabouts, doesn't it? Sometimes you have to just know where you're at and build from there. But I think Donegal ladies will be all right. Like they've lost some major players to Australia, retirement, and it's a massive commitment too. Like you know, what I mean, inter-county football is in men's and women's. It's ridiculous, like level of commitment. So, I'd say give the girls a couple of years and they'll be back. They'll be back, no problem.
Um, I I suppose, look, both of us, if Kerry and Donegal, we wouldn't be too interested that much in the old hurling. But did you catch the games at the weekend?
I did. I did. Cork put out a statement. Tipperary surprised me in a way. As you know, we have a cousin there playing for Galway as well, Sean. So, when I watch Tipperary versus Galway, then you're going right. Hopefully, Tipperary or go for it all now. You want to be beat by the winners, don't you? So, hopefully, Tipperary go and do it.
Yeah, exactly. Look, I think
Have you,
going into the weekend, how are things, Kieran?
has he joined us finally?
I can see him anyway, but I'd say he's still fairly stalled.
Kieran, can you hear us? I don't think you can hear us. Can you, Kieran? Ah, he's away.
No. um, yeah, like going into the weekend, I suppose I suppose the favourites really were Cork and Kilkenny. Um, Cork blew Dublin out of the water. I think they had their kind of day in the sun against Dublin, but I don't know if they were really actually ready for the test that or that Cork were going to give them. And
Mm.
obviously, like we saw now, they blew them out of the water.
In
But
fairness, of Dublin, they put up some serious score.
mm,
So if that was any other team, um, like they would have been well in the game. I would love to see. Can you imagine a Dublin Kilkenny? See how that fares out. And see. I think Dublin would be up there. I just think Cork are just out of this world in terms of being on it this year. I don't actually think Dublin was that bad. Dublin took a chance in terms of leaving themselves probably open and chasing the game. But at the same time, is that what you want to see? It was class to see. When was the last time you seen 7-26 in an All-Ireland semi-final? You know what I mean?
I think Cork were actually the last team to do it. I think I
Were
saw a
they?
stat there during the weekend that Cork were the last team to do it in maybe 2009 or something like that.
So it's been a while. Anyways, like, you know what
It
I
must
mean?
be just
Doesn't come up.
be a rebel thing.
Yeah, it must be. Must be.
I suppose, like, yeah, you're right in what you're saying about Dublin. They, it was one of them games where it was more of a shooting contest, really. Like
Aye.
Cork just basically said, "Look, we're going to outscore them, so don't worry about actually defending them." As you said, like Dublin did pull up a serious score as well. That probably would have beaten a lot of teams. And we've seen throughout the championship that they have put in a lot of teams as well. But yeah, that final now is going to be very interesting. Who do you think is going to get over the line?
Who do I think or who do I want?
Both. I know
Really?
who you want. I know you want Tip.
I would want to see Tip do it. But Cork are just, in fairness, no matter what, I think if Cork were to win it, you have to just applaud them. Like, to be that good and being on your day every day is more an art than anything. Like, if you turn up to every training session, every match, every S&C training, everything, and you be on it, that just shows you that 7-26. Like, they're on it. And that there, you can't say a bad word for that, can you? Like, you know what I mean? It takes until you go out and do it yourself, or it's very easy when you're in the pub or whatever, you're in the stand, the Hogan stand, and you're saying, why did he not hit it that way? But the one thing I like about hurling, especially with the BBC covers last year into the North, I think it has a massive opportunity to grow. Like you see the likes of Luke Littler playing the darts, or Rory McIlroy winning the Masters. I think hurling would be the exact same if the coverage is right. And you probably hear that from people that we don't really come from hurling counties, but if you talk to people that are into hurling, it's always about coverage, isn't it, compared to the football?
Yeah, even like you see a lot of people, even footballers, kind of recently as well, giving out about the coverage of GA in general, and that it's not like even just kind of social media things. That like we have a lot of podcasts now. I think obviously the football pod with James O'Donoghue and Paddy Andrews there is absolutely brilliant, and then they do the live ones and things like that. But a lot of people still kind of say, even players playing, that the media coverage overall for the GA isn't that great.
Mm. Oh, well, it isn't really. It's hard to argue against, isn't it? Because every game should be shown on TV. Like, if I know the Premier League is a completely different animal and stuff, but every game is televised. It might not be televised in a particular region, but it's televised
Or legally.
or legally. But it's gonna be televised. Do you know what I mean? There should be some way you should access every game, especially. This is what I can't get my head around. Is you have the camera there for the Sunday game, so why can't you just turn it on, leave it
Yeah.
on, and just create another link? Like another RT 1 plus or whatever want to call it, 3, 4, and just have a specialized channel if it clashes with anything that just goes on that channel. You know what I mean? Can't be that hard to do. So, especially my thing is it goes back. The GAA is all about your club, and the people that created the GAA, people that can't access the game now. It's probably frozen out of the
Mm.
game, and the people I'm chatting about is probably the elderly, people that they rely on RT that much that any game that's behind a paywall is, they're not getting it because they can't access,
It's
a file
impossible. It's impossible.
or a laptop or whatever. So I think it has to go back to just making the game simpler, even though, sometimes money isn't everything. You know what I mean? Money
Yeah,
comes comes around. Money will look after itself as long as the product is okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like even kind of, if you're listening to radio coverage, maybe RT Radio 1, or maybe on a Saturday or Sunday of all the action that's on. But like you were saying there, even if you had RT plus one and it was like a soccer Saturday version of maybe all the league games that are on a Saturday evening or something like that, or when it comes to the championship, when you have the round robins and there's so many games going on across the country,
Yeah.
just even having 5 or 6 former players as pundits all around, I guarantee you it wouldn't be hard to do, but it's just we're lacking the people to actually do it, I suppose.
I think you'll have to get that started, Dave. Get a few video cameras.
Yeah, Jesus Christ, we'll need
We'll see how we get on with the podcast for a few
yeah,
weeks.
yeah, yeah.
Reckon.
Yeah, we're struggling to get on the third member now, so never mind big studio setup.
Never mind 500s.
So I suppose moving on to the weekend coming up, I'll be a bit selfish now and go first with Kerry and Tyrone. Can Kerry go 2 for 2 against Ulster teams?
Why can't they? They knocked out the current All Ireland champions, so it's going to be very hard to argue with that. To be honest, I think the pressure is going to be on Kerry big time to show up, especially in the first half, because Armagh would have been in it. But it will also give them the belief that they can always stay in the game the whole time and they have something in the tank. But on the other hand, if I was Tyrone, I probably would just frustrate the life out of you, because the shorter that clock goes, then the doubt then sets in a Kerry man's head and says, okay, can they pull it out of the fire twice? There's not many times it's the same as Cork scoring 7-26. There's not many times you're going to score 14 times in 14 minutes or something like that there. You know what I mean? So if I was Tyrone, I'd frustrate the life out of them. I don't know what way that is, but
To be fair, they always find a way.
they always find a way, and that's not just saying sit back and defend. That's in terms of winning one-on-one battles all over the pitch. That's what I think Tyrone will bring. I think Tyrone will bring a real kind of, this is probably the wrong word to use, but a nastiness to a game, which I like to see. So no, I think Tyrone will be in it, but it's an even game. But I would just tip Kerry, considering what they just done to Armagh. And especially the likes of Derek Canavan, has he got really firing yet?
Yeah,
That's another question.
that's one of the points I was actually going to make about Darragh Canavan is I don't know, was it the GA social that Oisin McConville's on, or it was another podcast anyway, but one of them was saying that the most feared player that you can probably look at going into the next game is the player who was quiet in their previous game.
Mm.
So, like, Darragh Canavan was fairly quiet against Dublin. And for Kerry, that's definitely going to be a lot scarier than the Darragh Canavan who went out, say, and scored 1-5 or 1-6.
Mm. No, you're 100% right. It's very hard to plan for. But the one thing, if I was Kerry, I'd probably watch the game they played against us up in Ballybofey, if I had to pick any game, because the one thing I liked, I watched the first half of that Tyrone Dublin game in Croker, and the one thing from both sides is they retain possession very well from the kick out. They're very, very good off the kick out, and they have ability to score 2 pointers for fun. That's the one dangerous thing about Tyrone. If you can block them two things out and you can start winning their kickouts, which I mean, I thought Brian Howard would have mopped up against Tyrone, but you have to hand it to them. Their kickouts are unreal. They're very fast on transition as well. They do have a mix, to be honest, Tyrone. but I don't know. I would say Jason Foley might have to follow Canavan around the field in terms of sometimes now in the new game, you see boys being passed on to next of the defence, and the full back will stay in. But I would say Jason Foley will mark him and see where they go from there. But Derek Canavan's one of the on his day. If he turns up, it's any man's game. It could be a shootout between him and Clifford. But the big thing is which Clifford, because Potty came on and it was a different game altogether. He makes them tick. Even I think actually when you go back to the league, I don't think Tyrone were up to it at all in the league. Up in Tyrone,
Mm. You
and
were at that, sure, yeah, you weren't you?
and Clifford scored I think 4 goals. Was it in the league? I think it was 4.
It was definitely three anyway. Definitely three.
He scored. There was a good number of goals in that game, and Clifford, I think he scored a hat trick or 4 goals. But it could be kind of the same as that. The only thing in that game, Tyrone were very, very slow in transition, but now I think they've got a good mix.
Yeah, I think, like you were saying, maybe about Paddy Clifford. I think one of his scores, when he came on against Armagh, when he was running down the byline and just stopped dead
Mm,
on, and then let I don't know who it was that was marking him, but he just let him go past him and he just fisted it over the bar. That was a great test for his actual injury.
mm.
Actually, so putting that pressure on his leg to actually stop that quickly, I think I'd say he will more than likely start against Tyrone. I'll be surprised enough
Uh,
if he doesn't.
I think he will. They wouldn't put him out on that pitch if he wasn't 100%. He would have to be 90 to 100% ready for that game. They're not sticking him into that game, especially. You know, they're not. They don't take the risk anymore. Really, like them players, like they're treated like professional athletes. Really. Um, but it'll be an interesting game, 100%. I'd love to see. There's a young fella, Owen McElhone. I'd love to see him play because when he came on, he was different. He made he gave them a completely different dynamic, and it's always good to see. There's always that one young player in every good team. Every year you have that young player, and I think for Tyrone, I think in the later stages, if they show up, and if they get through by Kerry, I think that young fellow Owen McElhone will have a big part to play on that.
Yeah, one I suppose a kind of scary enough stat that I saw through the week was that Kerry and Tyrone in All Ireland semi-finals are currently a draw at 2-2.
So it's all
Um,
on down the line. It's all on the line.
yeah, and the two times that Tyrone have won the semi-final against Kerry, they've gone on to win the All Ireland,
Mm.
whereas the same cannot be said for Kerry. Both times they beat Tyrone in the semi-final, they did not go on to win the All Ireland. So either way, it's not looking good for Kerry.
Hey, but you still have hope. You still have hope.
Of course. Jesus, no, we'll go up now to Croke Park on Saturday, and looking forward now to seeing that game, of course. And on to Sunday, something now that's going to be a lot closer now to your heart.
Well, but I suppose if you were to tell any person at the start of the year that this is the way the championship was going to phase out, you probably wouldn't believe them. At the start of the year, I probably thought Galway were dead certs after they hammered us down in Salt Hill. But you can't override anyone. That's what is shown in this championship. You can't. I'm a bit wary in terms of Donegal because of the Monaghan 7 points before that, but also in the other games leading up to it, they give Armagh a spell there before half time, probably about 10-15 minutes, where probably Armagh scored about 6 points on the bounce. Brought it into a lot tighter game than what it was. Against Down as well, we've struggled to find our rhythm for about 15 minutes. It seems there's a constant thread there in terms of with Donegal. You have a late start, but with that comes a wee bit of resilience, and you probably think, geez, that's a sign of a good winning team. That a team that can turn them things around and then get points. But from my perspective of you can't let that happen against tougher opposition. You know what I mean? Especially with the tough. You probably look at our opponents, and you probably say the hardest team we've faced is probably Armagh, maybe. But Tyrone got beat by Cavan, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
So you're looking at it going, it's a very hard one to call because if you really look into the caliber of teams that Donegal's played Monaghan twice, he played Down, played Armagh, played Mayo, Cavan, and Tyrone. And that's it really. So they played a lot of Ulster teams. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they right enough they beat Louth, and they're the current Leinster champions. But I think Meath might have something else in their arsenal. In fairness, with them forwards.
Yeah, I think I suppose maybe besides the first half being a bit of a worry for Jim McGuinness, the first half against Monaghan. I know, look, he turned it around brilliantly, but obviously that first half, and then the other scary part that I'd be kind of looking at is, I suppose, from a Donegal perspective, maybe, is that you'd be very, very frightened to be playing a team like Meath who are just kind of riding a wave, and they're beating teams like it's no problem at all. No, look, they a 1 point win against Galway. It's not hammering or anything, but they got the job done. It's definitely going to be something that's they're probably a team like that is probably the worst team to probably face at this kind of stage.
100%, because like it's hard saying a team like that, but and they've succeeded their expectation. Really, if you were calling a spade a spade, so they're in bonus territory now. So they have nothing to lose in terms of making that gamble, or they're not going to sit in and just defend on a call. You know what I mean? So they're in bonus territory now, so they're going to go for it 110%. But I do think in terms of their forwards, I think you'll be surprised on who picks them up. McCall will be one, but I can see Ryan McHugh or someone like that picking up Morris. So you'll be surprised. It'll be an interesting game, especially if we get the whole team out. Everyone fit. I'd love to see Keelan McGonigal come back and be fit. Because that would be a massive help in terms of kickouts. Even in the Louth game, Jason McGee started. Probably didn't have an unbelievable first half, and Hugh McFadden came on, and he dominated the middle of the park in the second half against Louth. And then against Monaghan, it was complete opposite. Hugh McFadden started the first half. We probably didn't dominate enough ball. Jason McGee comes on for him, and he's winning ball everywhere in the air. So it's one of them things where I think McGuinness needs to get the matchup right in the middle of the park. Because as you've seen in them two games, the difference was making the change in midfield. Because against Louth, I think it was 5-5 going in half time, or we were only a couple of points ahead, and he made the change, and we completely ran away with it for the next 20 minutes. It wasn't even a game at the end. And the same against Monaghan. He made the change in midfield, dominated the kickouts again, and made a massive difference. So I think that's where the game will be won against Meath.
Can you, before I want to touch on, I suppose, the importance of Michael Langan, because his second half performance against Monaghan was outstanding. But obviously, first I want to talk about Michael Murphy and
the
Oh,
king.
I knew you were going to start laughing there. The greatest of all time, as voted by our DN Sports followers. um,
Hey, what are you laughing at? What are you
I
laughing
was
at? He
only
is the
laughing because
king.
you started chuckling there. But how look, how important do you think he's been to your success this year? And obviously, 2 more games. Do you think he has 140 minutes plus in the tank?
You'd swear we're talking about an old man, the way people speak about him. You know,
Well, yeah, no, John, you're absolutely dead right, because
it's
people
actually
talk about him as
disrespectful
if
to
he's
him.
like the Grim Reaper.
You know, it's actually disrespectful to him because you look at right, Paul Conroy won Player of the Season, and he's older than Murphy.
Yeah.
So, you know, when you put everything into perspective, I think he retired because whatnot, or he probably didn't see another wave of this again. He probably hasn't seen this wave since the first time he won it in terms of McGuinness Mania up here. So I Murphy's Murphy's the main man. He's the main man. If we're in trouble, we probably rely too much on him. But it just shows you too that he is up for it. The only time he comes off is, you know, if someone's trying to get sent off, or you know the game's done and you'd rest him anyways if the game's done. You know, it's not like his legs are shot or anything like that. Against Monaghan, um, in the second half is unbelievable. Like, I know with the only 3 shots we missed was his, but he brings a lot more than just his footballing ability. When he's on the pitch, you have to mark him. The team's looking,
Yeah.
going, if we give him any ounce of grass, he's going to dominate us. It also gives another dynamic then for the kickouts, because instead of just having, you know, a couple of big guys, everyone is marking him. And we got a bit of joy out of it. If you look at Gallon's first score against Monaghan, it's a flick on. Murphy comes out, it's a flick on, and it's out. He's done that a few times, like the catch against Armagh in the final.
Yeah.
He's had some good moments now this year. But he'll be up for it. There's no doubt about that. Like, you know, Murphy in an All Ireland semi final, not up for it. Don't think so.
I've actually said it a few times this year about Donegal. I was at the game in the park here in Fisher Stadium in the league when Donegal beat Kerry by 4 or 5 points, I think.
Mm.
I said it that day, and I was kind of like to myself, McGuinness came back last year. You got to the semi-final. Murphy's back this year. And I know you're on about jinxing and all this crack, but I can definitely see Donegal winning Sam Maguire this year.
I suppose when you
I
get
just think I think Murphy. Sorry, no, to interrupt, but I think Murphy. I think is that it's like that. McGuinness was a huge part of last year, of your own last year, and Murphy coming back now. I just think is just it's like a final nail into the coffin. It's just the last piece of the jigsaw. I think.
well, from the outside in, you could probably say that, and I suppose when you get into the top 4 in the country in terms of your placing, I think when I said about Meath, anywhere else is bonus territory. I think that's the same for any team. So, you know, if they get into an All Ireland final, great. But I wouldn't have the pressure on them, because, you know, all they have to do is win the semi final and it's progress. That's the way I see it. So one step further, and that's where we'll go from.
So
I wouldn't put.
next year, then you'll be absolute certainties to win the All Ireland.
If you come back to me next year and say to me, we'll wait till the season plays out first.
Yeah, I suppose. What do you think the plan is going to be for Jordan Morris?
I can see Ryan McHugh going on him.
Yeah.
So I can. If Ryan McHugh marks someone, I'm trying to think now, who was it? I think he done an American job in Ulster series. It might have been against Armagh. But I think it'll be Ryan McHugh that goes up against him because of the pace, sheer pace. I think McCall will take Costello. Um, I think that's your matchups, like, and everything else. Then we'll just. But the only thing is, Donegal are very fluent in terms of their back. They don't have a strict backline. They don't have a strict half backline. You could see anyone pop up and mark him. I don't think. I think. I think Morris will be expecting someone to mark him too, mark him tight. So I think if they look at him and say, "Here, we'll give you space to run into, but you define where that space is," I think Donegal will have a good chance. But I wouldn't be fearing Morris that much. I know he had a good spell against Galway. I could be jinxing myself here, but I think there's other good. I think there's other good footballers that we've played against. I don't. I think if you highlight him, I think you're not worrying about everyone else in that Meath team if you pay him too much respect. Because I think the ball has to get to him first. He's not running it from the back line to the forward line, especially now with the new routes. He has to stay up. So I think if you stop the ball in the middle and you get your turnovers and the ball isn't getting to him as much, will they start bringing him out? And then he's getting on the ball and has to run through X amount of players. I think it'll be interesting to see how the game plan is. Are they just going to mark him one-on-one and say, are you better than us? Or are they going to set down traps for him? Which they done against Monaghan. They actually asked the question of Monaghan in terms of, right, you have 2-point kickers, right? Kick 2 points. And they were just taking pot shots instead of actually working it in. So I think we traps they got there, I think Donegal will have set up for Morris. I think especially now after what he done against Galway. Especially like what you said there, Dave. It's very hard to mark a player that's had a bad game. If he's had the game of his life against Galway, which he probably has in terms of recent years, then you have all the footage to nullify him. You know what I mean? So we'll see how it goes.
It's a bit, I suppose, it's a bit like Shane Walsh. I remember in the 22 final, it was like that game was basically like Clifford and Shane Walsh kick out. It was whoever out of the two of them scored the most points was going to win the All Ireland in that game. But I remember when it was Galway Armagh last year. I know that was 2 years later from that final, but I was kind of like to myself, okay, Galway will win this because Shane Walsh is, Shane Walsh in All Ireland final, he's going to have the game of his life. But like we were kind of saying, he possibly already has had the game of his life in an All Ireland final and it wasn't enough. So,
100%, 100%. Like we have, my player of the season this year is Finbar Ruti. To be brutally honest with you, he is unbelievable. He's unbelievable for, I don't know what age he is now, 19, but he's unbelievable for. He's definitely young player of the year, anyways, because King Murphy is taking player of the year. So I will see how we get on, but hopefully we can get away with the win against Meath. It's not going to be an easy game by any means, but hopefully we can get the win and see what way they play. It's going to be an exciting weekend. It probably hasn't been this exciting in terms of weekends of football because anyone could win out of them 4 teams. You could see any of them 4 teams win. Normally you see a dead cert, but it's gonna be bit of crack. Anyways, when we're learning Croker.
What I suppose, it's kind of like or other years and things like that. You always have your nailed on finalists and whatever. But the new rules this year have completely revitalized the game. It's been unbelievable to watch football this year.
Unbelievable to watch. That's the main.
Play it. I haven't.
No,
I haven't thrown on the Crokes jersey in a few years. So
fairness, I like
it. Had that experience, which is probably the better way of being.
No, I like it, but in terms of how would you say it? the rule keeping and stuff, I think it's going to turn very like soccer in terms of you need a linesman to manage the three up or the four back and the three up.
Yeah.
So it's going to be
They haven't done too bad with it though so far. I know there's a few calls every game and things like that, but overall they've officiated it fairly well, I think. No.
maybe use a different refs than us, but um, I would say there's a lot. Say it's hard to blame the refs too because we don't have enough of them. I think you're stuck then as a as a player that you have to understand that they're doing their best they can, but also at the same time that's not the game. You know, you're either you have a rule or you don't. You know what I mean? So if a referee comes up and says, "Here, I'm going to be lenient on X rule or this before a game," 100%. But if it's going to be, you know, one side gets it, the other side doesn't, and I think that was a brilliant thing about that the rule change about the mark from a kick out. Instead of boys running in and barging in the zone and getting a free 13-meter free, it's some difference now. In fairness,
Yeah,
that's
no,
been a
that
good
was a
change.
fantastic change. That was a great change.
That's
I
been
think.
a good change in terms of the actual rules though. It has got a lot more nicer on the eye.
Yeah, like I was at that game in the round robin between Kerry and Cork and Cork and Cleve, and that's probably the game that made that rule kind of go out the window.
Mm.
Because it was, I don't think anybody could even follow it. Like why certain things are like why the ball was after being brought up so far. Nobody could spot what was after happening. Even as you were saying, I suppose playing in it as well, trying to get away from someone. So that was probably the best way to
Yeah.
go forward.
They've done a good job. In fairness, if you look back at the job, in terms of the review committee, um, they have done a good job in changing it. But I do think there's going to be. The only thing is, I wouldn't change the championship for next year. They've changed the championship, so I don't know what it's going to look like. But they should have left it a year, see how it played out this year, and then go from there. But we'll see. We'll see how they do. They called it right anyways with the rules, so we have to give them the grace of God on that anyways.
I suppose before we finish up, I put out a question box there last night, I think, of kind of people's memorable trips to Croke Park. I suppose maybe it was the first kind of podcast that we've done, but we only got one. We only got one then. And Gary said that it was Sean O'Shea's free against Dublin in the 22 semi-final was his most memorable moment in Croke Park. That was a great game as well. I suppose to add a bit more to that, what would you say your your happiest moment or your happiest trip to Croke Park has been? Any kind of funny stories? Any kind of, was it because of a certain moment or?
The most memorable. I have a most memorable moment. It involves 2012. It involves a jersey, us wearing white, and another team wearing blue. It was us beating Kerry. And it was kind of like my first time where I remember going to Croker. Of course, I would have went, but Dad would have brought us everywhere. And I think on that journey of 2012, when we got to Croker, and you're sitting there as a kid and you're going, "Oh my God, these are unbelievable." There's the Gooch, there's Buckley, we looked up to these Kerry footballers as much as we looked up to because they were the ones we looked on telly beforehand. As a Donegal kid at that time, Donegal weren't probably going unbelievable in previous years. So you would have looked up to the Kerry team, as if we weren't even, we used to there at the start, we're probably not hurling counties. We probably weren't even that much of a football county really, like. So until McGuinness came over and it was McGuinness mania. But for me, that was my most memorable moment. You're going to Croker, you're watching us, And I remember when that final whistle went, it was just sheer emotion from the crowd that hasn't got to that next step. It was unbelievable, and then as well, like, it was the first time ever getting. They didn't have them the last day, but when you're ever in Croke Park and you get the Croke Park hot dogs, have
Oh
you ever
yeah,
seen them?
yeah.
If you don't get a hot dog in Croke Park, have you really been to Croke Park? That's my thing. So,
I'd
uh,
say the same thing about Anfield,
uh,
the Anfield hot dog as well.
so you have to get it. You have to get it if you're going. And I remember, I think, what age was I been there? I'd been 8 probably. I was walking around with a hot dog, probably bigger than my head, loving life. And I remember I was just savage crack, down with all the brothers, mum and dad, and Uncle Liam was there then too. He was supporting Kerry. It was a long drive home for poor Liam.
I suppose kind of for myself, really. I think my first time as well in Croker was I think the All Ireland quarter final against Galway in 2007. I don't actually remember that
No
much
wonder
of the
you were
game.
4.
Huh?
No wonder you were 4.
I was 6.
Were you? What age
2007,
are you?
yeah. Or no, yeah. I was just after turning 6, yeah.
Jesus. You're getting old, Dave.
I know, 24, but the grey hairs have been coming in there at the side. But I don't even remember that much of the game. I remember Kerry winning, but the the memorable moment I had of it was the actual sheer joy getting to the seat because it was lashing rain. My God Almighty, the whole day in Dublin was horrendous, absolutely horrendous. Um, I remember after the game, myself and Dad had to run into Penny's to get another pair of tracksuit bottoms for me, like, because I would have gotten pneumonia, I'd say that day. But
Mm.
it was just one of them games that you sit into your seat and obviously the relief of getting out of the rain, but it's actually you look up and you maybe stand on your seat when, as I said, you're only 6 and you're just looking out into the place and you're like, this is mental. I actually find that even going to Croke Park in any capacity is still going into your seat in Croke Park is still unbelievable anytime you do it.
It's unbelievable. It's unreal. It's I'm lucky enough now to actually go a few times now, but I remember, it's just when you say that, we went last year and we were playing Galway in the semi final, and it felt like, yeah, you Kerry boys probably haven't felt this for them, but we went in and it was like, Jesus, we haven't been here in a while. And when you have that feeling when Jesus, you haven't been here in a while, you're going, thank God we're back. That's when you're, God,
Yeah.
thank God we're back. It gives, when you don't have them Croker days, it's a long road, hey. I think the last time we would have played in Croker previously would have been the Super 8s. And that was thank God we're back. You have days like that there. They're the best days. Like, I can't wait down for the weekend. Like, they're gonna be the best days, and a few pints will be had.
Yeah, well, I think that that's probably the best way to kind of wrap it up. So your All Ireland football final for 2025 will be
Donegal, Kerry.
right. Yeah, look, I find it very hard to argue with that. I think even for ourselves, I think that would be an absolutely brilliant outcome for this weekend. So, look, I'll see you over the weekend. Thanks to
Perfect.
everybody for watching. Is there anything, Dan, you'd want to talk about in terms of the shop?
And so I think you'll probably have seen, anyone that has been listening to this, I'd say you'll probably seen that the page is more active. The reason in that is that we've got a lot more time. We've got out of college, got out of our apprenticeships, and we're kind of wanting to take this full on. And we've kind of put out a new offer now. So it's going to be 20% off, and also then the person that organises that will get their gear free. So we're going out. So anyone that knows us, we do workwear business. We can do anything in terms of your corporate wear as well. Your jumpers, that type of stuff. Then we can do school uniforms, especially for the smaller kids. The PE uniforms. You can also do your Gaelic, your soccer, your basketball, any sport at all. So if you have any queries, just reach out even to the page. Dave can pop them over to us or contact us on the website. Even email dnsports2020@gmail.com. Or even just contact you. There should be go onto our Facebook. There should be a link to contact me on WhatsApp as well, so you can contact me there.
Brilliant stuff, Dan. Brilliant, and hopefully we'll be on in a couple of more weeks for possibly a preview of the hopeful final that we're looking for. But before any of that, anyway, we'd like to thank everybody who came on. We didn't get massive numbers tonight, but look, we're going to make it more of a regular thing. We're going to try and get, I suppose, more of the kind of the former players on and things like that, and try and get it a bit more consistent in terms of the lives. And yeah, look, everybody, thanks for coming on. And Dan, I'll talk to you at the weekend.
Perfect. Thanks, Dave.